Let's do some sound effects. Suppose someone shouts, "Hey! Hey!" So here's some simple block lettering. Here's an H. E. Y. Hey! Okay, well, this looks like comic book lettering, which it is. What can we do to this to make it interesting, like a doodle? Well, have stuff growing out of it. Add some shadow, perhaps. This will be a shadow on the E. There we go. Or this is actually called a drop shadow, where it looks like the letter is raised, and the shadow is just below it. There's no. It looks like the letter is hovering, and the shadow is dropped beneath it. Okay, so we'll do that to that. Start going, having fun with these patterns and whatnot. So the hey is just becoming a starting point for growing all this kind of stuff on it. These textures and patterns. I can go back into it, cut into it, curly Q, swirl around, bumpy, 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 whisker, 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 crosshatch, crosshatch, crosshatch. Swarms of fleas, waves, ocean waves, back upon themselves, spiral, 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 sound waves, intersecting, cut through lines, spots, dashes, spots, kind of a weathered wood look, kind of a liney, weathered wood look. Okay, doing this can get a little messy. There's all kinds of things happening here. So what you do to make it look like a coherent, cohesive drawing is you start repeating yourself in places, and that ties it together. So I've got this drop shadow here by this E. I'll put a drop shadow on this exclamation point. Do the same thing there, and maybe I'll do something. I'll add just something dark over here. I just had a dark shape or dark scribble by this H. And it will serve the function as a drop shadow. It's basically just a dark shape. These drop shadows are actually just dark shapes. And your eye reads it as a dark shape. Dark shape here. In fact, I'll make that a more interesting dark shape. I'll just put some nodules and texture on it. Hey. Hey. Some lines here. Have the lines just float right off the letter into space. So it's a floating texture. Here's the texture, here's the texture. Ooh, it's a pattern right down here. Coming down here, maybe bring it right down here. I have a little rhythm going here with my textures and patterns. So straight, scribble, scribble, straight, scribble, scribble. Okay, I got a round curly Q here. Maybe I'll put I like this kind of excited look, this kind of a beep, these kind of a pointy surprise shapes, these jaggedy surprise lines. I've always enjoyed the look of that. Hey! Now, okay, hey. I could turn this into a word balloon. Maybe I'll just have the balloon come from behind, and all this cluttered contents that's contained within it, it'll be so exciting and so much is happening, it's just kind of bursting out of the word balloon. So I'm drawing the word balloon actually behind these shapes and patterns. Hey, 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 hey. I'll put a little tail on it. Bink. Suddenly it's a word balloon. Someone's saying, hey. And I could even put an outline around this to add a kind of a bold feeling. Oops. There we go. So who's saying hey? Well, whoever's over here. I'll work on the person who's saying this in the next installment. I'll work on faces. So here we've got what I'm calling is a doodle comic version of a word balloon. The word balloon is saying hey, but you know, when I look at this and I see all these patterns and textures, you can read that as a certain tone of voice, sound of a voice. You can translate this into sound quality, sound texture. If it looks kind of rough, maybe it's a rough voice. If it looks bold, maybe it's a loud voice. Maybe this type reminds you of like spittle or phlegm. I don't know. But what I think is fun and interesting with this way of drawing is you come up with translations, sound translations for what I'm drawing visually. You know what H-E-Y sounds like? Hey. But how does it sound? How does it sound? Well, let these textures and lines and squiggles maybe help you out. So there you go. Hey.